The last person to see them alive said everything was fine. So why didn't it feel that way? Investigators replayed the surveillance footage dozens of times. They tracked every movement, every timestamp, every second of the last known hours. And on the surface, the footage told a simple story. A routine, a normal day, nothing alarming. Except, why do they stop at that specific location? And who was the other figure, half visible at the edge of the frame? When police began interviewing people who knew the victim, a strange pattern emerged. Everyone described them the same way. Too perfectly, as if they had rehearsed their answers. Or worse, as if someone had rehearsed for them. The phone records raised more questions than they answered. A flurry of messages in the days leading up, then nothing. A silence so total it felt deliberate. When does silence become its own kind of confession? And then there was the one person nobody had thought to look at. The one who'd been there quietly in the background the entire time. The one who had no reason to lie. Or did they?
It was a calm Friday morning on February 24th, 2023, in Herndon, Virginia. The Banfield home sat in a quiet, well-kept neighborhood where nothing ever seemed out of place. But just before 8 a.m., that calm shattered. Neighbors would later say they heard Ray's voices coming from upstairs. Then movement, then gunshots. Within minutes, police and paramedics surrounded the house. Inside the primary bedroom, they found 38-year-old Christine Banfield gravely injured from stab wounds. Nearby was 39-year-old Joseph Ryan, suffering from gunshot wounds. A knife was present at the scene. Brendan Banfield, Christine's husband, had also been shot in the leg. And in the home was 23-year-old Juliana Perez Magalhaes, the family's au pair. The first explanation given to authorities sounded like a terrifying but simple story. An intruder had broken into the home. He had attacked Christine with a knife. Brendan had rushed back to protect his wife. A confrontation happened. Shots were fired. The threat was stopped. But from the very beginning, small details did not align. Christine Banfield had built a life that appeared stable and accomplished. She studied nursing at Quinnipiac University in the early 2000s. She met Brendan during her college years, and their relationship developed steadily. They married in 2010 after several years together. Christine worked long, demanding shifts as a nurse. Colleagues describe her as responsible and compassionate. Brendan worked as a federal criminal investigator, focusing on financial crimes. Financially, they were comfortable. They eventually moved to Herndon, purchasing a large home valued at over $1 million. In 2018, they welcomed their daughter. Friends saw photos of family trips, birthday celebrations, and everyday parenting moments. By most outward appearances, it was the picture of suburban success. In 2019, the couple joined the Cultural Care Au Pair program, bringing a Brazilian au pair into their home to help with childcare. Their first au pair stayed longer than expected because of global travel disruptions and reportedly formed a strong bond with the family. In late 2021, Juliana Perez Magalhaes arrived from Brazil. She was a trained nurse in her home country and came to the United States through the same au pair exchange program. She moved into the Banfield home and helped care for their daughter. At some point in 2022, according to prosecutors, the dynamic inside the house shifted. Authorities later alleged that Brendan and Juliana began an affair around August of that year. Meanwhile, investigators would later uncover something else happening behind the scenes. In early 2023, Joseph Ryan, a man who lived nearby, began communicating online with someone he believed to be Christine Banfield. The messages were explicit and involved a planned consensual encounter that included elements of knife roleplay. Investigators later said that the writing style and the messages did not match Christine's typical communication patterns. They also determined that Christine had never directly spoken to Ryan over video or confirmed her identity in a way that proved it was truly her. Prosecutors alleged that Brendan had created a fake online profile, impersonating Christine in order to lure Ryan to the house. On the morning of February 24th, events unfolded quickly, but not cleanly. At 7:50 a.m., a brief 911 call was placed from Juliana's phone. It lasted only seconds before disconnecting. 13 minutes later, a second 911 call was placed. During that call, Juliana reported an emergency. Brendan soon took over the phone and told dispatchers that his wife had been stabbed and that he had shot an intruder in self-defense. When officers arrived, there were no signs of forced entry. Doors and windows were intact. Joseph Ryan had been shot. Christine had been stabbed multiple times. Brendan had a gunshot wound to his leg. Initially, it was reported that Brendan had shot Ryan, but forensic testing would later determine that the fatal gunshot wound to Ryan's chest had been fired by Juliana. Investigators also discovered that Brendan and Juliana had both replaced their cell phones just 4 days before the incident. That detail alone raised serious suspicion. Phone location data further complicated the story. Data suggested Brendan was not inside the house at the exact moment the first gunshot was fired, contradicting the version of events initially told to police. Blood spatter analysis also suggested the scene may have been manipulated. Some responding medics reported that the positions of the bodies did not fully align with how injuries typically occur in an active struggle. Ryan's arm positioning did not appear consistent with the trajectory of the gunshot wound. There were signs that movement had occurred after injuries were inflicted. Then came the deeper digital investigation. Authorities traced the online account used to communicate with Ryan. Prosecutors later alleged that Brendan had been the one behind the messages, carefully arranging a meeting that would bring Ryan into the house at a specific time. To strengthen the deception, Juliana allegedly participated in at least one phone call pretending to be Christine. Investigators also discovered that months earlier, Brendan and Juliana had gone together to a shooting range. Brendan had purchased a firearm later used in the incident. As months passed, authorities remained quiet publicly while building the case. On October 19, 2023, Juliana Perez Magales was arrested and charged with second-degree murder in connection with Joseph Ryan's death. The arrest signaled that investigators did not believe the original self-defense narrative, but the case did not stop there. In September 2024, Brendan Banfield was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Prosecutors alleged that the events of February 24th were not spontaneous, but planned. According to court documents, the theory presented by prosecutors is this: Brendan orchestrated a plan to eliminate his wife while avoiding the financial and personal consequences of divorce. He allegedly used a fake online profile to lure Ryan to the home under the belief that he was meeting Christine for a consensual encounter. On the morning of the attack, prosecutors alleged that Christine's phone was hidden to prevent her from calling for help. Ryan arrived believing he had been invited. At some point, violence erupted. According to a later plea agreement, Juliana admitted that Brendan shot Ryan in the head during the confrontation. When Ryan was still alive, she fired the fatal shot into his chest. Prosecutors alleged that Brendan then stabbed Christine repeatedly. After the killings, authorities believe the scene was staged to resemble a home invasion. The 13-minute gap between the two 911 calls is believed to be the window during which bodies were repositioned and the narrative was coordinated. In late October 2024, Juliana accepted a plea deal. She pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and agreed to testify against Brendan. As part of her agreement, she provided a detailed account of the planning and the events of that morning. Recorded jail calls between Brendan and Juliana were also introduced in court proceedings. In one call, Juliana questioned Brendan's loyalty and hinted at the possibility of her speaking out. Brendan told her to stop talking. Christine Banfield was buried at Queen of All Saints Cemetery. Friends and family describe her as devoted to her daughter and deeply committed to her work as a nurse. Joseph Ryan's family publicly stated that he had been manipulated into a situation he did not fully understand, and that he lost his life because of it. The Banfield's young daughter survived physically unharmed, but she lost her mother. She has since been placed in the care of relatives. The case remains ongoing as Brendan Banfield awaits trial. Prosecutors continue preparing their case, while defense attorneys are expected to challenge the credibility of Juliana's testimony and the interpretation of forensic evidence. What began as a story of a husband defending his family has transformed into allegations of calculated deception, digital impersonation, conspiracy, and stage violence. At the center of it all are two lives lost in a bedroom on a quiet morning, and a child whose future will forever be shaped by what happened inside that house in Herndon. As the legal process continues, one question still echoes: Was this a chaotic encounter that spiraled out of control, or a meticulously planned act disguised as self-defense? A jury will ultimately decide. If you found this case fascinating, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. We post crime case videos every day. If cases like this shake you to your core, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. More deep dive true crime investigations are on the way.